Welcome to the second in my series of videos on the basics of the music business. In this video we're going to look at music rights and we're going to look at the way the music business is changing. You need to know what your intellectual property rights are and what your status with them would be, as this will show you who actually pays you and what they pay you for. So let's just dive right in. Artists, producers and composers have more and more tools at their disposal to be able to create musical works without relying on record labels and music publishers to finance them. Record labels and publishers offer to finance your work because they can see that it has a financial value, and the contract they offer gives them guarantees that they can recover their investment. If you finance your own work, you need to understand where its value lies and how to exploit it for your own income. So like I say, if you finance your own work, you need to understand where its value lies. So where do you stand in all of this? Well, if you want to release your own work, where is your capital? And if you want to publish your own work, where is your network? And if you want to be independent, where is your income? Remember, record labels spend money, publishers earn it back again. And if you release your own work, you need to be both label and publisher yourself. Artist, composer, or both? Let's recap what we learnt in the first lesson. Artists make deals with record companies. The artist performs a musical work for which the record company, the label, finances the production, promotion and distribution. It is the label's job to generate revenue based on the ownership of the recording. In other words, this is the master right. Whoever pays for the recording of a musical work owns that recording and has the right to exploit its value however it sees fit. But remember, ownership of the recording does not imply ownership of the intellectual property, the song, on that recording. That would be subject to a separate publishing contract. Composers, on the other hand, make deals with publishing companies. The composer writes, creates, composes a musical work for which the publisher administers the associated mechanical and performing rights, collecting some of those rights on behalf of the composer, but also looking for additional uses of the work to generate further revenue. It is therefore the job of the publisher to try and generate as much revenue as possible from the exploitation of the copyrights embodied in the composition. It stands to reason, therefore, that many record labels have working relationships with music publishers, simply because a lot of the promotional work that the label finances generates revenues that a music publisher will collect. Know your intellectual property rights. It is becoming very clear to a lot of artists these days that while the idea of being completely independent of any record label, publisher or manager is very appealing financially, the reality is that there is a hell of a lot of work that needs to be done, and that the person doing it really needs to understand exactly what they're doing. Unfortunately, most don't. As mentioned before, there are so many tools available now on the market to help you record yourself, to mix and even master your own work. There are also a vast array of tools for getting your music out there once you've completed that recording. However, far too many artists have the idea that you can record yourself, release it on iTunes, and then sit back and wait for the money to roll in. This tends not to happen. Apart from anything else, download revenue is really not where the money is. There will be a full explanation of this in later lessons, and the real value of your work lies in the rights associated with it and the knowledge of how to generate revenue from those rights. Who pays you? Let's take a look at a diagram to put all of this into perspective. Yes, I know it looks complicated, but over the course of the next few slides I'll try and break it down into bite-sized chunks for you. Let's start with artist income. Now this is going to be based on a percentage of the overall sales income, on average around 15% on physical sales and up to 50% on digital sales. Without the label, this would be, of course, 100% of everything, right? Well, not really, as there are still costs involved in distribution, promotion, marketing and supporting media creation, videos, etc., which the artist, as the sole rights owner, would now not only have to pay for himself, but also know what, where and how to do that work. Artists also benefit from income from appearance fees, which would be paid by the label, or performance fees paid by management, less of course a management percentage. And again, an artist can do this for himself and collect 100% of the income. However, ask any artist these days how much work they put into getting gigs. Artists can also benefit from a percentage of the sales revenue from merchandising. Merchandising is very lucrative, but it's also very expensive to set up. Even selling t-shirts at gigs involves purchase and print costs, stock management and financial management, and the taxman will always take an interest in additional revenue such as this. Management will always be a very contentious issue, and there are plenty of stories in the press about artist-management relationships. There will always be a gulf of understanding between any creative individual and the person responsible for making money on his or her behalf. My first manager explained it to me like this. You can have 80% of something, or 100% of, well, you get the picture. Artists will also benefit from neighbouring rights income. This is income that is generated whenever a recorded performance of the artist is broadcast. This includes any performer whose work is used in the recording, even the drummer. Sorry. Record labels often argue that as they are financing the project, they have the right to claim some, if not all, of the neighbouring rights revenue. The legality of this varies from territory to territory. Check your contract and also check with your local neighbouring rights society. On the composer side, well, it's fairly straightforward. You get a percentage of the royalty income. And again, without the publisher, that would be 100% of all royalty income, less any fees charged by the Copyright Society, of course. However, this is what's known as passive publishing, collecting income based on data that is supplied by the various third parties to the relevant Copyright Society. Publishers should do so much more than that to be able to generate income from sources that even most composers have never heard of. Should you be a company or an individual? Should you become a company? Well, even though it's possible, there are advantages and disadvantages. The critical factor in any promotion-based business is coordination. Record labels have specific departments to handle specific areas of business. Each of these departments shares information, and the label's product development department coordinates all of this information to be able to plan strategies and allocate resources, both financial and human. Running a business is time-consuming, time that should be spent creating the content that the company could be selling. Most artists, unfortunately, lack the business acumen necessary to succeed. There is a big difference between a creative brain and a business brain. Check with your own government tax authorities. There may be tax advantages to operating as a business, and there may also be grants or business loans that you may be eligible for. Over the course of the remaining lessons, I will try and show you just how much you are really worth and how to generate revenue based on that worth. And now, as always, here are some useful links for you to follow and do your own research. So, now I hope you have a better understanding of what your rights are, where they are, and how they can generate income for you. In the next video, we will look at copyright societies, what they do, and perhaps more importantly, what they don't do. In the meantime, please like and subscribe and feel free to share. You can also support us on patreon.com/Lavender Vale, where you will find exclusive additional content and links to book a chat with me. Thanks for listening.